Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Brecken Brandstrader, and I'm the Senior Editor at Gemstones at National Jeweler. I'm pleased to welcome you to the latest episode of My Next Question, National Jeweler's new webinar series sponsored by Rdi Diamonds. Today's session is hosted by our Editor-in-Chief, Michelle Graff, and features Pat Henneberry, Chief Marketing Officer at Zorella Fine Jewelry. Before I turn it over to Michelle to get the webinar started, I just wanted to let our attendees know that if they have a question, they can type it into the Zoom Q&A box. I'll be back on at the end of the discussion to share the questions with Michelle and Pat. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be available on the National Jeweler website on Monday. Now I'll turn it over to Michelle, and I'll be back to field any questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brecken, and thank you so much, Pat, for joining us today. I'm so happy to have someone joining us today who I've known so long and worked with for so long. Pat, obviously industry veteran, tons of experience, and has written the Coach's Corner column for National Jeweler for a number of years, so thank you for that. So, Pat, I want to start with the first thing people are asking each other as we return to, quote, normal life and see each other again in person, even though we're not in person yet. Pat, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. And it's an honor to be interviewed today. And thank you for everybody who is signed on, especially my mom. Gosh, getting back to normal life. I personally have not had what I would call a normal life in a few years. And we'll get to that. I know you're going to ask me some questions about my book.
Right.
But gosh, this pandemic has really shattered people's assumptions of their safety and their security and what their lives looked like. I think we all need to be more patient, for sure. I mean, when you see what's going on airplanes and different places, I think we all need to be more patient with each other because we don't know what people have been through in the past year. We need to move forward, of course, but many people are grieving still the loss of family and friends, the loss of jobs, even the loss of what was their normal life. So personally, since you asked me, I'm going to make sure that I put as much fun into my life, as much enjoyment into my life, and I'm also going to be giving out a lot of hugs.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I look forward to getting one then at one of the shows.
Absolutely.
As long as it's allowed. So we've caught up in recent weeks on the phone. So I know what you've been up to, but not everyone else does, as not everyone else got to catch up with you. So I know you've done quite a few things. You mentioned your book, but I also know that you are now have a new job, Chief Marketing Officer, correct? Chief Marketing Officer at Zorella Fine Jewelry, which is new. So can you explain to those that haven't read about it yet what Zarella is exactly?
Yes, I'm very excited about Zarella. We are a digital fine jewelry house. So we like to say we're high technology and high touch. We connect digital fine jewelry with a personal touch. So Zarella allows for individuals to establish their own personal jewelry business without taking on all the burdens that generally are associated with such endeavors. Some of us, including myself, I've been a personal jeweler.
Really quickly, Pat, I'm just curious, when you say personal jeweler, what do you mean exactly? Just so people understand what we're talking about here.
Yes, thank you. You don't have a storefront. You might have an office location. Most people have a small office location as personal jewelers. And with that, it's very difficult to have people find the right people to procure your colored stones and diamonds, to do your invoicing, CAD, manufacturing, insurance, appraisals, inventory, shipping, packaging. We are a turnkey jewelry support system all in one. So I was trying to think of an analogy of what we're doing now. And I don't know if you've heard of, here in Texas, I'm in Austin today in my Austin office. what's popping up and really popular are these, they call it turnkey neighborhoods. And basically they say lock and leave. So, you live in your home, but everything is done for you. The repairs are done for you. Your yard work is done for you. The security is done for you. So you get to lock and leave your home when you're gone, and everybody is handling all of the back end things. And that's what Zarella does. That's what we do. We are an opportunity for those sales professionals. Maybe they lost their jobs, but they want to stay in the jewelry industry. We can help them become that personal jeweler without
right.
them.
Or perhaps it's a retailer who closed their store and says, I still like to get jewelry for people or design rings for people, but I don't want the hassle of owning a store, having employees, et cetera. But I'd like to still be involved in the industry, doing the main part of the business, which I love, which is getting people pieces.
Right. And spending more time on the golf course, but they have this great Rolodex and their customers don't want them to close their stores. So we're there to help them. It could be a GIA student who just graduated and have always wanted to have their own boutique, but they can't afford it. So the other piece of this is we have other divisions. So we're high tech, high touch. We can help someone who is a small brand and they have their own website, but they need someone to do the manufacturing and the fulfillment. We literally have the technology to handle their website and to work their website. There's so much technology that we have that I can't talk about. There's a little teaser there for you, that we will be launching in August, a full-fledged story about Zarella. We have quite a few patents, and we're really excited to talk about our support for retailers, our support for small brands, our support for someone who wants to become a personal jeweler. We act as a fully capable turnkey digital manufacturer. So you can tell I'm very, very excited about it. Very excited about it.
And it'll include a direct-to-consumer e-commerce website, but that's to come, right?
It is. However, that direct-to-consumer is connected to all of our personal jewelers.
Okay.
So it's for it's for them.
Right. It's an e-commerce store for them.
Yes, exactly.
I went and looked at the website today, and it just says to come. So I'm anxious to see more about it.
You're going to see a lot more. Thanks for asking.
Well, thank you. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's very timely because we know there's a lot of people who fit under the banner of what you just described, people who are looking to be personal jewelers but don't want to have to do B, C, D, E. They want certain aspects of the business taken care of for them so they can concentrate on the parts of the business they love.
Yes.
And I think particularly there's that big segment of jewelers who don't want to have the store anymore, but still want to be involved in the industry. So Pat, What attracted you to this opportunity with Zarella?
Wow, that's a great question. Gosh, I was looking at a lot of different, many big companies in our jewelry industry and talking to them. And I knew that personally, I had 3 boxes that I wanted to check. And they were very, very important to me. And if I didn't check one, then I was committed not to take that opportunity. And there were opportunities I said no to. So the 3 boxes for me, I was looking, number one, for an innovative company. I love innovation. I love technology. I needed to be with a company that wanted to grow. I love the idea of a startup. I mean, as you know, I've been helping brands through the years, multiple brands I help launch, and they're all something new. And I just love that. So that was number one, is I wanted innovation. I'm very passionate about the jewelry industry. Over 30 years.
I think that's okay to say.
Actually, yes, I'm proud, over 30 years. So I'm passionate about our industry, and I wanted to land someplace where I can make a difference. I mean, I wanted to land someplace where philanthropy was important, not just for the company, but that they would support my own philanthropy. I wanted to be in a place where I could help the industry and move the needle in a really positive direction. So that was number 2. And then number 3, I wanted to work with good people. I'm so lucky that I have worked with great people in the industry. I look at the friends that I have today, and some of the closest friends are people I worked with over 30 years ago in the jewelry industry. My boss, Jan English, if you're on, she was my first boss, vice president at Art Carved, and still today we're good friends. She was an amazing female leader in my life to start my career off in the jewelry industry.
Very important.
Also, very important. Diamond Promotion Service, that was like a family. I loved all the people I worked with and continue to be in touch with all of them.
Yeah. A lot of Diamond Promotion Service veterans still in the industry, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that was the best stepping stone in my career. JCK, I sold ad space for 7 years when we owned the show, right? And we all worked so hard, and there's so many people, Jennifer Hebner, good friends that I've connected with that I see on the floor and at the shows, and we all hug it out. Hearts on Fire. Gosh, Kelly Bargogas. Kelly, if you're online, she's one of my closest friends. Christina Yee. I mean, I could name a ton of them. So now it was really important that I work with good people. And now at Zarella, I feel like I truly am part of a family. They're people that I've known, some of them for over 30 years.
And can you tell us who some of the people are involved, or you're not allowed to talk about that yet?
Oh, I can tell you. So Adam Kelly is our Chief Design Officer. He was an instructor at GIA. He's like a brother to me. He's amazing. One of the biggest hearts. Our president and founder, Orlando Altamar, and his wife, Tony Altamar. Amazing people. These are friends that we worked the Midas show in Dallas together. If anybody remembers the Midas show and the Southwest 24 Karat Club. Oh my gosh. I mean, we were all in our 20s, but we were taking names back then. And I absolutely love working with Orlando and Tony, and their expertise is just priceless. One of our founders, David Wesson, who I've just recently met, his wife, Patsy Wesson, who she has been a personal private jeweler and also is a GG, and she's one of the founders, which is great because we have 2 female founders who really founded the foundation of Zarella.
Love hearing about that.
Yeah, I do too. And that route really could have been a 4th box. I love female leadership, and I love to see female founders in our industry. It's super cool. They're strong. They've done this for years. They know what they're doing, and for me, it's a perfect fit. It is.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add about Zarella before we move on to talk about the book you've written, which I don't think a lot of people know that you've written a book, but anything else about Zarella you want to add?
I think it's important to know that we've created a niche, and where we saw there was a huge need, there's a missing link. We are a digital e-commerce platform that we are offering. We're carving out a path into business ownership with a high commission structure that is just amazing, and a digital platform for small brands, private labeling for retailers, a place for designers. I mean, designers really have no place now. CAD's kind of taken over things. This is a way they can brand themselves in this and have all the product they want on this digital platform. So it's all digital and so much more. And I can't wait to tell you more. But we have a lot more to share, but it's time to embrace technology in the jewelry industry. And I know people have a hard time doing that in our industry, but now's the time. Now's the time. So thanks.
Well, I mean, I would say it's probably beyond time that we embrace technology in the jewelry industry, but I do feel like the pandemic has pushed us in that direction. Perhaps some people unwillingly, but definitely has pushed us in the direction we needed to go. And we, quite frankly, the industry needed that shove. They needed that push to embracing Instagram and, upping their e-commerce game, figuring out virtual appointments, new way to, because there were other industries that have been doing this for a long time. And we are just, we lagged. And I think the pandemic, for all the negative aspects of the pandemic, one positive thing that came out for the jewelry industry anyway was it gave people that push they needed to do the things that we should have been doing probably 5 or even 10 years ago.
And I think that the industry needs to realize that the consumer, they trust technology. And it's something that they trust. They've proven that they'll buy fine jewelry online. Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's worth saying too, I mean, people will still argue that point with you, right? Like, oh, nobody's going to buy a $10,000 ring without seeing it. Maybe some people won't, but they won't know that you have that $10,000 ring unless you get it out there and let people know what you have and let them see it. And then maybe they'll say, oh, okay, I'll come into your store and take a look before I buy that.
Right.
I mean, there's so many options in that avenue now for, almost everybody looks, no matter what you're buying, everybody looks online. Well, almost everybody, myself included, looks online before they buy. Like you research what's out there, what's the price, where can I get it? Who has what I want? I mean, that's the way you start shopping for anything now, you Google.
Absolutely. You Google. I mean, people are buying houses, they're buying luxury boats, they're buying so many things online. And I'm buying things online that I never thought I would buy.
So we talked about Zarella, and we've teased your book. So in addition to becoming the CMO of Zarella, as we said, you've also written a book. So tell us about it. What is the title? What is the premise? And when is it coming out?
Oh, wow. Lots of great questions. First of all, the title. If you've ever written a book, you come up with about 1,000 titles before you land on one. So,
I mean, I know that just from writing articles, I have 6 or 7 different headlines just for a simple article. So I can't imagine a book.
Yeah, seriously. So I have a publisher I'm thrilled to announce a Silver Light Press.
Are they there in Austin?
They are here in Austin, yes. And they are the owner of Silver Light Press. Her name is Susan Sember. She actually is a documentary film producer. She has a new film coming out called Beyond the Game. And it talks about people's transitioning in athletics, in sports, a lot of professional athletes, some amateur athletes, and the transitions that they make after possibly injury or aging out of a sport. So my book was a perfect fit for them. They read my first draft, and I had a few different publishers interested. And as you know, in the book world, you have to be picked. You can't pick the publisher. So I was thrilled beyond words when Silver Light Press agreed to publish my book. I'm really thrilled because they get the book. The title is, right now I've landed on 2 titles. One is called Walking Towards Hope, because in the book I talk a lot about hope, and or the Resiliency Code. I do own the resiliencycode.com. It's something that the book is really based on, a lot on resiliency. And so the premise of the book is I had a life-changing event. Some people in the industry know about it. Unbeknownst to me, I have a spinal disease called spondylolisthesis. So Michelle, when we're in Vegas having a glass of wine number 2, I want you to say spondylolisthesis 3 times, okay?
Okay, I'll write it down.
Yeah. I won't go into the entire story, but one day I walked into my house and my lumbar, my spine shifted away from each other, and it caused my left leg to have all feeling in it. And my life changed in an instant, obviously. The book is how I've learned to adapt with change, transformation in my life, trying to find hope many times, trying to find hope and embracing the person that I am today and not the person that I was 3 years ago. I used to say in the very beginning of this isn't my story. This isn't my story. And if people know me, I'm, high energy. I love sports and activity.
Well, you are an competitive open water swimmer. I don't know if a lot of people know that about you, but it's very interesting.
Yes. So, and I might have one of those open water swims on the docket here in August. I swim for a nonprofit called Collins Hope, which I love, and hopefully I'll be able to do a shorter than a normal open water swim I've done, but at least get back in the water. So I wrote the book because I felt like it was important. In a culture that is historically, Michelle, valued strength over weakness. And I grew up an athlete, so it was always no pain, no gain.
Right.
Asking for help.
Push through injury,
asking for help, shows weakness. Life challenging ways I never thought I would be confronted with. And none of us can hide the pain, right? I mean, there are many people out there suffering from emotional and physical pain, and people who might need just a little inspiration. I spent 2 of my major out of 4 surgeries were at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. And if anybody's out there from Rochester, I absolutely love your city. And the Mayo Clinic it's a magical place. And when you spend time on a spinal floor, you realize I never wanted to change my shoes with anybody else's. You realize the suffering that goes on, and that people are in a lot worse situations. And I know when I start off my book, I say, I am nothing special. I'm just decided to capture the experiences from others and myself, and hopefully that people will be able to learn from it. I have some really fun stories in the book, and I have some, not so fun stories. The theme to my memoir is resiliency, and that we need to keep moving. We have to keep moving forward no matter what, that you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. And I came into this really, I didn't have bad days, Michelle. I had good days and I had some bad hours, but
right.
I never had bad days, plural. It's about hope, and that hope really is hiding everywhere. Right when you think you've lost all hope, there's just those little moments, those little things that happen that hope is reinvented in front of you. It's about the circle of life goes backwards. My mother is going to be 90.
Who might be on today as our oldest webinar listener yet.
Yes. She's going to be 90 this year. And trust me, I wouldn't have been able to get through this without her. She took care of me for about 1.5 years. Woo, right. Man.
You never get too old to ask mom for help. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh. And I will say the silver lining in all of this is who at my age, who gets to spend that much time with their mother.
Right.
It definitely is the silver lining in all of this.
So we
and
have
look,
two potential titles: Walking Towards Hope and the Resiliency Code. Would
Yep.
you mind if people, if they want to, typed in the chat which they prefer?
I would
Have a
love
small
that.
poll here today. And I'm going to say I like the Resiliency Code. I think there's something about the word code that's intriguing, and I feel like if you already have the domain name, that's pretty sure bet there. That's just my opinion, though.
Oh my
but
gosh.
I understand the struggle of picking a title for a piece of work you've written. Trust me.
Silverlight Press is going to like you for that one, Michelle, because they really like the Resiliency Code. But probably my biggest lesson in this whole past 3 years, and that I will have seminars on this and workshops on this, because I implement a lot of my selling and sales experience through the years in the jewelry industry. And I do have stories about the jewelry industry in the book.
No names.
All good stories. But really, we need to always lead with empathy. And that is a lesson I've learned the hard way. The Mayo Clinic taught that to me. My doctors, my nurses, patients, they've all taught that to me. Always lead with empathy. And I believe that at the sales counter. I believe that in everyday life. And, your first question about the new normal. And I think my new normal also is always lead with empathy and compassion. You have no idea what people are going through in their lives.
I mean, especially right now. I think that's a great thought to take forward as we reconnect with people at the pandemic. You don't know what it was like for them. You don't know who's lost someone close to them.
Yep.
Or, if they've struggled, so many people struggled with mental health during the pandemic. People are lonely. So I think that's a really great point, Pat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was I always thought I was a compassionate person. I always thought I had empathy, but when you watch it firsthand from others, you realize how much you need to learn more. And I'm constantly learning, and this book really is a lot of lessons that I've learned from others.
Well, I can't wait to read it, and we'll do another story when the book comes out, letting people know. So Zarella, coming in August, the Resiliency Code, just testing that title, coming when, do you know?
Well, hopefully, we're looking at either late fall or the first of the year.
Okay.
You have to write so many different versions, and Silver Press is all about marketing. They're great. So I'm actually acquiescing to them and following their lead. They've been successful with this. And then Zarella, just so you know, you can go to Zarella.com and sign up. We have a little coming soon register. But also,
yeah, I saw that this morning.
Yeah, and Mia Zarella, M-I-A Zarella, which means Zarella, by the way, Sorella means sister in Italian, and Patsy Wesson and Tony Altamar are so close. They're like sisters. So those two founders, we pretty much named Zarella after. We did a play off of Sorella to Zarella. And so Mia Zarella, my Zarella, is a place where if you are interested in being a personal jeweler, please, you can sign up there, and we'll contact you and talk to you in more detail about things. But yeah.
And everyone, I just dropped Zarella.com, Mia, M-I-A, Zarella.com into the chat. So if anybody didn't catch the spelling, it's in there now.
Thank you.
So, and people are putting questions in there too. And we're also going to check back in on the vote for the book title, but we'll get to that at the end. Before we move into that, I want to talk a little bit about, you're obviously busy. You have a new job as a CMO. You've written a book. You've been overcoming these physical challenges, but I know you still have your finger on the pulse of the industry. You still know what's going on. So can you tell me, what trends have you noticed?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of great trends out there, right? So we are in the era of online. There's no doubt that's not going away. The big A, Amazon's not going away. There's been an enormous shift towards online shopping. People buying boats, we talked about it. People buying boats, buying cars, buying homes, buying fine jewelry online. Look how I have ordered curbside. I have reserved a spot at Home Depot where I pull up and they drop, a weed eater in my trunk. I have had things delivered to my home. I mean, I love all of this. I have to say, I don't think those things are
Instacart.
Yeah, Instacart, right. I mean, it's kind of cool. Not to say I don't love going into a jewelry store, and trust me, I think the new things of shopping, I mean, now you walk in, right? Hygiene. I can't even believe I'm saying the word hygiene, but we're all doing this, right? When we go into a store, and then we're doing this when we leave a store. And it reminds me of a story that we've all seen, the Sunglass Hut, where you pick out a pair of glasses and they would pull out the glasses and clean the glasses in front of you, right? And then you put your glasses on. And
does the Sunglass Hut still exist?
They do in Texas. I know that.
Okay.
So in my workshops and seminars, I used to always, and if anybody's on here who's been in one of my workshops, I'm always saying, you've got to clean jewelry in front of the customer. And a lot of times it doesn't happen, but now even more so, I think it's really important. Clean jewelry in front of the customer. It will be a trend that I think will continue. The biggest trend, though, is the digital consumer experience. And not to talk all about Zarella, but that is a huge piece of what we're doing. We have created a digital online customer experience, and that is important to everybody. And we are going to share that digital experience that a consumer will have. We're going to share it with everybody. We're going to share our technology with retailers and designers and personal jewelers. But the trend, the digital shopping experience has changed customers' expectations. Retail jewelers need to provide a truly omni-channel experience to their customers.
Right. The experience that your customer has on your website needs to match the experience you want them to have when they come in your store. You can't have a website that doesn't function properly or looks dated and think people are going to come into your store. And I feel people choose businesses based on a website. I mean, I chose a dentist based on who had the nicest website, because to me, I felt like they'd be providing the most up-to-date service.
It is so true. Customers,
it's another storefront.
Exactly. And they're used to technology now, and they want to access more products. And that's something we haven't really talked much about either. And digital technology allows you to have more products. And that's another niche that Zarella has, is we want to offer more. Customers are going to look for more, and they trust technology now. The consumers trust technology now. I mean, the number of things and the items that they buy online now, and that's good news. And the good news is we're here to help. But I do think that those are some of the online era is here to stay. And
well, I mean, I think it's fair to point too that this is especially true against younger consumers, because you got to think you're Gen Z customers, so they're in their early 20s, right? I mean, they were almost born with a phone in their hand. Like, they don't know life before technology. They have no thought of life before cell phone.
No, you're right. I mean, my nephews will I'll be at their house and I'll say, oh, grandma's on the phone, and I'll hand them the phone, and this is what they do. They've never done this. Right. This is what they do. They have no idea what this is. But it's true. It's life is changing. Look, I read something recently which kind of made me sad. So I think everybody needs to go out, and if you have clear skies tonight, go out and look at the stars with your kids, because with Elon Musk and the things going on today, the stars are, our sky is never going to look the same. I mean, they're sending up thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of satellites. And so our solar system will never look the same when we look up to the sky. I mean, the other night, I did have a couple glasses of wine with a good friend of mine, Gwen, and we looked up into the sky, and we thought that it was a UFO, and we found out it was Elon Musk had set off here in South Texas a number of satellites, thousands of them, and we saw them go across the sky. We literally saw them go across the sky,
Yeah.
these satellites that they launched. They weren't UFOs, but things are really changing, and I think we need to just recognize that and embrace it.
So I want to talk a little bit too about post trends now, and then I want to ask you about something that's a bit of debate right now. Post-pandemic trends, specifically, there's a lot of people saying, oh, we're going to be entering into another roaring 20s, and people are going to be out and want to dress up and spend their money, and that would include buying jewelry, hopefully. But then there's other, some talk I've heard recently bubbling up is, well, I don't know, jewelry sales are going to starting to slow down a little bit because people are out and about now, and they're going to be taking vacations this summer and eating out as much as they can, and signing up for classes and just things to do out. So what do you see post-pandemic for jewelry demand specifically?
Ooh, wow.
No pressure. I mean, just a huge question that nobody can answer.
What time do we have? So, since we've all come out of lockdown, for most, it seems like a party, right? I mean, we see people on the beaches. We saw people on the beaches for Memorial Day. We're all going out more, and it's great to see. I mean, it is great to see. But in many parts of the world, and this is me personally, how I feel in many parts of the world, when people start talking about the roaring 20s, that's not really the story that's going on right now. And again, this is my personal, we're such an international industry. So what's going on in India, it's unthinkable.
Yeah.
South Africa, COVID is raging. Japan, Thailand, there's new strands. I mean, you see people suffering. And again, I have so much empathy and compassion for what's going on in the world. There are so many deep wounds. You even said it, Michelle, there's still so many deep wounds that remain, and health issues that are still lingering for people who had COVID.
That's true too. And we don't even know what all those are going to be yet.
Right. And it's, we're still fighting a fight. And don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that we are opening up, and I love seeing people smile. I love not wearing the mask and being able to see people's smiles. I've been given hugs out. I've missed that. People who know me, they know I'm a hugger. And I really have missed that. But it's hard for me to go into this roaring 20s kind of mode. When I think of the roaring 20s, though, look, great things happen, right? Women had the right to vote in the 20s, right? Women became more liberated. We started cutting our hair short. People were dancing in the streets. They were dancing the Charleston. Bessie Coleman, the first female African-American pilot, she flew in the 20s. The first Winter Olympics happened in the 20s. And of course, my very favorite, Winnie the Pooh, was published in the 20s. So, I mean, there are a lot of great things, but then I think, oh my God, but remember the excess that ended with a loud crash in 1929, the stock market, which was the first signal of the Great Depression. So I like the good of the 20s, but I think what I would like to see is that, when we talk about all these trends, like, oh, people are going to buy, oh, they're not going to buy, oh, they're going to go on vacation. We have dealt with that forever. We always talk about the competitors. The competitors are vacations and cruises and luxury items. And I remember when technology became the flat screen TVs and all the technology and the computers and the iPhones, they were going to take away from the fine jewelry industry, but we always survive. The pendulum always comes back. And I'd like to not compare ourselves to the roaring 20s. Let's all ease back into just a stable place, in a place of appreciation and where we've come from, where we've been. And again, always coming from this compassionate place for the rest of the world. But let's have fun doing it, and let's enjoy ourselves, and let's sell a lot of fine jewelry.
I love that answer. It's so great. Thank you. One last question before I turn it back over to Brecken, because I know we've had some questions come in the queue. You keep mentioning hugs, so we will see you at JCK and/or Couture this summer. Yes, we'll see you in Vegas in August in person.
Absolutely. Right. And if anybody wants to set up meetings with me, I'll be there. They can email me. My email is on miazarella.com. Email me and we'll set up an appointment. I would love to connect with anybody that has questions about Zarella, and love to connect with all my friends. And I look forward to connecting with you too.
Me too, as well. And I'm going to take you up on that wine offer, even if I could not meet your pronunciation guidelines. Pat, thank you so much. But we're not quite done yet. I'm going to turn over to Brecken, and she's going to take us through the questions. Brecken?
Great.
Thanks so much, Michelle and Pat, for such a fun, great discussion. And thanks to our sponsor, Rdi Diamonds. As a reminder, you can still type questions into the Zoom Q&A box, and we'll try to get to as many as possible before the end of the session. While we compile the Q&A, I just wanted to say a quick word about Rdi Diamonds. Rdi Diamonds, the selection you want, the quality you need. Thousands of diamonds, that's just the beginning. RDI offers a wide range of services and support to help you succeed. From flexible memo options, a partnership with De Beers Group Industry Services, to generous stock options and cost-efficient shipping, RDI's goal is to provide the highest quality of both care and diamonds to your store. Visit rdidiamonds.com today to learn more. Before we jump into the listener questions, I just want to throw out that we did vote a little bit in the chat. And I would like to say that I was along Michelle's lines with the resiliency code, and we also had 2 other votes, 1 for each. So I don't know if that's helpful, but the resiliency code seems to be popular. And we're very excited for your book, Pat. It sounds amazing, and it definitely does sound along the lines of what people need to hear right now, to your point about how hard the past year and a half has been. So I'm going to start with a quick question about the digital experience that we got. So you talked about how important that is right now for the shoppers. So in addition to omni-channel, and making sure that the website obviously looks first class, what other aspects do you think are vital for e-commerce sales when you're talking about the experience? What specific concerns need to be addressed, do you think?
Well, I think to Michelle's point, your website's very, very important. And customers, they want to see product. They want to see a lot of product. They're demanding that now. They also, they look for a place they can trust. And so I think being sustainable, I think that making sure that you are doing the right thing is very important. Sharing the pillars of your business is important. At Zarella, for instance, our pillars are very important to us. Our people are important. Philanthropy is important. Transparency is important. And the one thing we Those things we all agreed on. And the other thing we all agreed on is we said to the team said, let's just always do what's right. And I think it's important to share those pillars with your customers.
Right, absolutely. Okay, great, thank you. And you obviously have had plenty of experience with sales training in your role in the industry. So and you've written many, many wonderful columns for National Jeweler. So I love this question. What do you think is the most common challenge salespeople face when it comes to closing a sale? And what would you tell someone to help address that?
So I think sometimes a sales associate, they see closing the sale, they're afraid to ask for the sale. It's just this big, huge cement, hairy, big gorilla in front of them. And they're just afraid to ask for the sale. And I always say, just assume that customer is happy. If you ask relevant questions, it will come down to that sale will happen. I mean, most of the time, it's funny. I was just talking to a customer recently and they were saying, I want a D, VVS1, 3 carat, this, that, and the other thing, diamond. And I looked at them and of course,
no big thing, just perfect color, huge and high clarity.
Everything perfect. And of course they said they had $10,000 to their budget. Right. But what I said to them is I said, it sounds like you're looking for a beautiful diamond. And they just stopped and they looked at me and they said, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It's like, well, we have that. I mean, don't worry. Well, I always tell sales associates, just tell the customer, you have landed in the right spot. Mm-hmm. You're here, you've landed at the right spot, and I'm going to help you and guide you through this. And you are going to walk out with a beautiful piece of jewelry.
Regardless of what letter grades come with it.
Exactly. So just don't be afraid to just put yourself in the shoes of your customer always, and don't be afraid to just walk them through the process in a way where you're the conductor and you're guiding them. And they'll be disappointed if you don't ask for the sale.
Right. Okay, great. And going back to your book, what did you learn about yourself while you were writing it?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. One of the biggest things that I've learned is what truly a badass is. I've been a triathlete for many, many years. All the friends I hung out with and still hang out with, they think they're badasses.
Triathlon is swimming, biking, running, right?
Yes, swim, bike, run. So open water swimming, mountain biking, triathlons, whatever. I was that person, hold my drink and watch this. I'm going to do a double flip off the dock. I've never done it before, but I can do it. And used to think that I was a badass, but then I learned that really, when we would do triathlons, my friends would, we always stayed till the last runner came in. It would be first you'd swim, then you'd bike, then you'd run. And we'd always wait for the last athlete to come in, the last triathlete. And they were usually out there for an hour or 2 hours longer than what any of us were out there for.
Right.
And they're coming in, struggling. And those people, I've learned, those are the real badasses in life. I coach a Special Olympics swim team, and I have swimmers who are very sensitive to the temperature of water, for instance, and they have to jump in cold water, and they do it every practice, and it hurts them. Their sensitivity, the cold water hurts them, but they do it. To me, that is a badass. People who don't give up, people who have that resiliency, those are the real badasses. And so I really learned the true definition amongst a lot of other things, but that was something I really learned.
That's amazing. I mean, hopefully you still consider yourself a badass, because I would say that's still true. I mean, going back to the resiliency, you obviously learned a lot about that inner strength too. So
yeah,
Sorry, Michelle, what were you saying?
Oh, as somebody who ran a marathon in 2019, I can appreciate because sometimes, especially when you're running a long race and you're at the end of the race, if there's no one around to cheer you on, it feels really bad.
Yes.
And that's what anyone who's ever run the New York Marathon will tell you. One of the hardest stretches of that marathon is up in the Bronx because it's 19 miles in and there's not as many people on the streets cheering you on. And it makes for a really difficult stretch of race after you've run for, 2 hours at that point. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I know what you're saying. Like, it's one thing to finish a race when you're going to win and you're going to come in first or you're going to place in the top 10. It's another thing to finish a race when you're the absolute last one and there's no one left. And it's just, you just have to pull yourself through it.
That's right.
That's awesome, Pat. I'm so happy you do that.
Great perspective. And
Yeah.
and just one more question before we close it out. We had somebody who asked, where do you send your resume if you're interested in being a salesperson for Zarella? And I would probably expand that to say, if someone was interested in connecting with you regarding Zarella, who should they reach out to?
Please reach out to, go to miazarella.com, miazarella.com, and they can connect with me. My email there is there, and even my phone number is there. So they're welcome to call me directly.
Fantastic.
I'm typing this in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks again to Pat for joining us today, and Michelle, of course, for hosting. You can tune in for another episode of My Next Question next Tuesday, June 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern, when I will interview 3 colored stone industry veterans about how the sector is faring in 2021. You can read more about it and register at nationaljeweler.com/webinars. I also just dropped that link into the chat for anyone who is interested. Thanks again for joining us today, and please take care, everyone.